Star Trek subtly confirms the Mirror Universe's big villains could easily defeat Starfleet. For decades, Star Trek has painted the Mirror Universe as a place of ruthless ambition, where violence and treachery aren't moral failings but survival tools. From the first glimpse of the Terran Empire in Star Trek, the original series' Mirror to Star Trek Discovery's deep dive into Emperor Georgiou's reign, fans have learned that this alternate reality breeds villains who play by far harsher rules than the Federation. But while the Federation represents the best of cooperation, diplomacy, and exploration, recent developments across the Star Trek franchise quietly suggest something alarming. If Mirror Universe villains ever manage to cross realities in force, they might actually have the edge over Starfleet. The very structure of the Mirror Universe sets up a paradox. On the surface, the Terran Empire and its allies seem constantly unstable, ruled by coups, betrayal, and authoritarian cruelty. By contrast, Starfleet thrives on stability and collaboration. Yet, beneath the chaos, the Mirror Universe cultivates leaders and warriors of a caliber that the Prime Timeline rarely produces. These individuals, hardened by brutality, are not constrained by morality, bureaucracy, or hesitation. And when you look closely at what Star Trek has revealed about them, it becomes clear they could exploit Starfleet's biggest weaknesses with terrifying efficiency. The Mirror Universe produces leaders without limits. One of the biggest distinctions between Starfleet captains and their Mirror counterparts lies in restraint. A Federation captain is trained to think about ethics, diplomacy, and the Prime Directive. Their tactical decisions must balance morality and regulation. A Mirror Universe commander, by contrast, only survives if they are willing to use every possible tool at their disposal, including fear, deception, assassination, and overwhelming violence. Take Mirror Spock, introduced in TOS's Mirror. Even though he was more rational and forward-thinking than most Terrans, he still operated within a system where his continued existence required ruthlessness. Later depictions of Mirror Kira Nerys the Intendant in Deep Space Nine and Emperor Georgiou Discovery highlight the sheer unpredictability and cunning of Mirror leaders. Georgiou in particular demonstrates why these villains would be so dangerous to Starfleet. She understands both how to inspire loyalty and how to enforce terror. She is the kind of commander who could order a planetary genocide without hesitation if it meant victory. Starfleet, meanwhile, often falters because its captains are forced to weigh ethics against tactical necessity. Picard and Janeway both showed reluctance to sacrifice lives, even when such sacrifices could have offered clear strategic advantage. In contrast, Mirror leaders are not only willing to make those sacrifices, they consider them routine. This willingness to escalate conflict without restraint gives the villains of the Mirror Universe a dangerous edge. Starfleet's weakness: rules, morality, and hesitation. The Federation prides itself on ideals: peaceful first contact, non-interference, and valuing life above all else. These values make Starfleet inspirational, but they also create exploitable weaknesses. Mirror villains, unburdened by ethics, would not hesitate to exploit Federation compassion. We've seen hints of this in Prime Universe conflicts. The Dominion War in Deep Space Nine exposed how unprepared Starfleet was for an enemy that viewed casualties as expendable. The Dominion used suicide attacks, infiltration, and massive genetic manipulation, tactics that horrified the Federation but were entirely pragmatic from the Dominion's perspective. And while Starfleet ultimately won, it was largely through alliances and sheer luck. Now imagine those same vulnerabilities being targeted by enemies who know Starfleet's tactics intimately. Mirror villains understand the Federation's strengths and weaknesses because their own universe mirrors it. Unlike the Borg, Dominion, or Klingons, Mirror adversaries know exactly how Starfleet captains think and how to manipulate their hesitation. The power of Mirror technology and tactics. One misconception is that the Mirror Universe is technologically inferior to the Federation. While that's true in some eras, like when the Terran Empire fell to the Klingon-Cardassian alliance, there are many examples showing that Mirror technology is just as advanced, if not more so, in certain respects. Mirror Universe starships often prioritize raw firepower over safety or exploration. In DS9, the Mirror Defiant was an exact replica of Starfleet's warship, but equipped for ruthless offensive combat. In Discovery, Terran ships like the ISS Charon boasted devastating weaponry, including a mycelial-powered superweapon capable of annihilating planets. Unlike Starfleet, which builds ships for science and diplomacy, Mirror factions design theirs primarily for domination. Tactically, the Mirror universe also excels in deception and sabotage. Mirror operatives are masters of infiltration, skills that prime Starfleet officers rarely employ. Mirror Kira's manipulations in DS9 prove that these villains can twist alliances with terrifying ease. Combined with the absence of moral hesitation, these tactics could leave the Federation outmaneuvered before it even realized it was under attack. Emperor Georgiou, the example of Starfleet's worst nightmare. No character embodies the danger of Mirror villains more than Emperor Philippa Georgiou. Discovery revealed her as one of the most cunning, vicious, and adaptable leaders in all of Star Trek. She ruled an empire through fear and violence, yet her charisma and intelligence made her an uncommonly effective leader. When Prime Universe Starfleet encountered her, they were constantly outmatched, not because their ships were weaker, but because Georgiou thought differently. She could anticipate hesitation and exploit it instantly. Even when stripped of her empire and brought into the Federation, Georgiou adapted, becoming an invaluable ally to Section 31. Her ability to thrive in a completely alien political structure underscores just how dangerous Mirror leaders would be if they ever mounted a coordinated campaign against the Federation. If one displaced emperor could manipulate Starfleet so effectively, imagine what an entire coalition of Mirror villains could achieve. The Federation's over-reliance on ideals could doom it. Star Trek often portrays Starfleet's morality as a strength, and narratively, it usually is. But the franchise also subtly shows the cracks in that philosophy. In DS9, Sisko admitted he had to compromise his ethics to secure the Romulan alliance, tricking them into joining the war against the Dominion. That moral compromise was shocking, but it was also necessary. The implication is clear. Starfleet ideals are not always practical when survival is on the line. Mirror villains wouldn't hesitate to make those kinds of decisions from the outset. To them, deceit and brutality aren't moral compromises, they're standard practice. This means they can act decisively where Starfleet dithers. The Federation may be able to win wars against alien powers who don't fully understand its psychology, but against its mirror counterparts, that hesitation could mean extinction. Could Starfleet actually survive? The big question then is whether Starfleet could actually withstand a full-scale invasion from the Mirror universe. The answer